That's the way to go. I think that's the way to go. I'm going to ask you one question, and then I might ask you a follow-up question, and you are free to answer that one if you'd like to, or choose not to.
Okay.
So the question I have for you is, of course, what is landscape architecture?
What is it?
What is landscape architecture?
It's a discipline. It's a body of knowledge. And it's also a profession. And so one is nested inside of the other, which is what makes it wonderful and interesting and fun to study. Okay.
Anything else?
Well, from there you can drill down into exactly what is it as a discipline and what is it as a profession. So when I think of the profession, I think of a set of practices, not just one or two practices, but bundles of practices that are engaged in place making and habitat, particularly human habitat making. And I always question that because I value other forms of habitat almost equally. I think that people have more than their share of the surface of the world, but it is about place making in that sense of habitat for humans, human beings, and it is also about place making making places where we project our values, our political values, our social values, our comfort values, our value of things as beautiful, our value of things we dismiss or disregard or don't see, right? Our values are written all over the landscape. So I see it as a giant artifact of our capacity for imagination and for justice and for learning and all the other aspects and dimensions of living. So that's, as a profession, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are all the things that we do in terms of activities and practices and changes that we make. As a discipline, it's obviously a kind of metacognition of all of that, right? So it's nested in the sciences that involve relationships, ecology and geomorphology and geography and history and sociology and art and engineering and everything in between. So it's so large and floppy at the edges that it becomes really a lifelong pursuit. At least it has been for me.
Why are you a landscape architect?
Why? Because it contains and combines everything I care about. I began as an environmental studies major, but that was after I had changed my major from anthropology, political science, and anthropology. Did I say anthropology already? Yeah, sorry. Anthropology, political science, and I ended up retaining a minor in anthropology and studio painting. So for me it was art and culture and environment all kind of bundled up together. It was the only thing really that I thought was large enough to maintain my interest for a lifetime. And it has. Absolutely it has. I'm in love with it. But you mean, practically speaking, that answer is an intellectual answer. Practically, I will say that, again, I've nibbled around the edges of it. All of it's been interesting as a technician in the Forest Service. I was thinking about beauty, and I was thinking about public resources and the harvest of it as a map maker for the planning department in Portland, Oregon. I learned about cities and how wonderful it is to live there. The idea of the city as a stage for enacting all aspects of our lives. Graduate school was a flight out, it was like a bungee cord jump, I wasn't sure what I was getting into, but after really tossing around the question of whether I should be an architect or a landscape architect, it had to be landscape architecture. Because that's what I enjoyed the most, was walking and being in the world, in motion. How ironic that I'm sitting here motionlessly, tethered to a desk now, but it was all about being able to move and see things, even if you were riding in a train, seeing the movement of the landscape, past your vision. So these are some of the reasons. It's also amazing to construct a new place, and some of my happiest moments had to do with making positive change in the world that way. Okay, that's 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's great. That's fine. Oh, that's